Hey, welcome to the Stephanie Stevens Show, where I help you discover the power of communication and the keys that unlock the doors to freedom in every area of your life. Well, hello, my dear friend. I feel like it's been a while since we've connected, and yet, isn't it funny? It's only been, about 48 hours since the last episode. But when we get into habits like connecting daily, then, when you miss a day or even 2 days, it kind of makes it feel like a while. So I am so honored that you would allow me to come into your day and share time. Thank you for sharing the podcast. Thank you for subscribing so you never miss an episode. And also, thank you for rating this podcast so others just like you who are, by the way, amazing, can find us and we can grow this community. It's considerably. And thank you for doing it. So I just wanted to touch base with a little encouragement. This past couple of days, I was preparing for my daughter's graduation party. She's my baby. She's 18, and she's the youngest of my 4. And so we've already hit the milestones with my sons. And so now here's my baby girl. And this graduation party was kind of a really big deal. So she's done most of the planning, and then of course the execution was yesterday, and that'll just take you out, right? That'll take you out for a day when you've planned a big gathering for many, many people. And I found myself a couple of times during the gathering noticing that when we are extending ourselves toward others and wanting to really create something amazing, there is no balance. First of all, balance is bogus. We're going to do a podcast on that here in a day or two. Balance is, hear me, bogus. So I'm going to tell you what the alternative is in the next episode. But balance doesn't happen, especially when you are in the midst of creating something, okay? That's time sensitive especially. So we were very focused on having the things we wanted and creating these special things and having everything together just right, everything just so. Who's coming, checking the invite list again, and making sure we had food. In fact, way more than enough food, all of those things that we do to prepare to celebrate something monumental. And a couple of times during the gathering, I found myself alone doing things like making more coffee or stocking something that was running out, things like that. And in those quiet, still moments, I became emotional. And it was a very interesting sensation because despite the fact that there were so many people around, in those moments in the middle of a milestone, sometimes we become quiet. And in those quiet moments when we find ourselves by ourselves, that's when the true emotion really starts to manifest itself. And so I was just standing there grinding the coffee beans, getting ready to make more coffee, and it hit me in the gut just how monumental this really was. And I stopped for just a second and got a little bit emotional. And I thought, wow, this is a season that is coming to an end, changing a little bit, and then launching into a brand new season. And that is, of course, what seasons are. It's, this evolution of nature and cycles, and everything is a cycle and a pattern. Everything in all of creation operates that way. And so this is another part of this life cycle. And yet for me, it's the closure of one season and the opening of a new. But I wanted to share this experience with you because I know that during times like that, people will encourage us. They'll encourage you when something is coming up. And if they see that you are, kind of expressing an emotion or maybe finding yourself a little strapped for words, or you have to stop for a minute because you think you might maybe even shed a tear, it's beautiful. And I want you to go ahead and invite yourself to do that and feel those things in those moments. Because what I think happens is people want to encourage us by saying, oh, don't cry, this is happy. Or, oh, don't be sad, this is great. Wow, you're getting all of your birdies out of the nest and things like that. But the truth is, if we are going to move in a place of authenticity and honesty and true communication, and that's really what the heart of the podcast is about. It's about tapping into the deepest, most expansive forms of communication. Then we allow ourselves to stop, even if it's in the middle of a party. And when we're making the coffee or restocking the buns, it is okay to stand there for a moment and allow the emotion to come to the surface. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be excited and happy and thrilled. It's okay to be a little confused. It's okay to be nervous. All of that is part of this experience, and all of it is good and true and right. And I think that's why sometimes we get hung up during transitions or seasonal changes. It's because we do not allow ourselves the reality or the truth or even the space to really steep in, like lean into that feeling for a minute. Just lean into that and let that wave wash over you of what you're experiencing in that moment. Ride the wave, baby. Ride the wave. Because that's really what processing is all about. It's when the emotion comes, it's riding the wave and feeling it fully, acknowledging what it is. Oh my goodness, here's a wave of sadness. Oh, my baby girl, she's growing up, and that means all of my babies are not babies anymore. And I can actually say that and think about that and talk about that with somebody and express how kind of odd that is and what does that mean for me now, right? All of that is so natural. It's so good. It's so true, and it's so right. And maybe even if you can and if you enjoy to journal about these kinds of things, wow, there's so much benefit in there. You'll find out things you didn't know when you start to write, because there's even a little more freedom. The words don't actually leave your mouth, right? They just bubble up to the surface, and then you release them through writing. That's a beautiful thing as well. And some people find even more freedom in doing that and communicating those deep, deep feelings and emotions that way than they do saying it or verbalizing. So my encouragement for you today is this: in your season now, whatever that season looks like, maybe it's having a new baby, maybe it's watching one transition into a marriage, or watching one graduate, or watching one graduate from kindergarten. It really doesn't matter. All of the emotions that go with it are amazing. I encourage and invite you to step into those. Allow yourself to fully feel those. Go ahead and process those in writing or even verbally. And if you've got a really good friend that you trust, do that with them, because these that life are made of. Remember when we talked a couple of episodes ago about when is now? Now, this moment, when you're feeling something, means this season, there's something coming to fruition. Something is coming full circle. And your system, your mind and your emotion requires an acknowledgement of that. It was born out of a lot of hard work, right? Parenting, born out of hard work, sleepless nights, sometimes angst, sometimes agony, the highest of heights, and sometimes the deepest of valleys. And it's all a part of the experience. And you and I, if you have kids, we've lived to tell about it. That in and of itself is a celebration that is right to acknowledge and celebrate. And as we celebrate something for one of our children or one of our loved ones for that matter, we are also needing to acknowledge and honor that place in us that took us through the challenges, the mountaintops and the valley experiences, and brought us here to this day of completion. That's incredible. And that's a really, really big deal. Yes, the seasons change. One slowly, gradually comes to an end. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they crash from one season into the next. I live in Minnesota. I'm used to seasons kind of merging and blending in one, ending quicker than we thought and us crashing into the next. But the way that it feels best is if they naturally ebb and flow. And if the seasons change with the beauty of the fall, leaves turning colors first and then slowly dropping. And one of the ways that we can experience that in our own emotions and in our own seasons is to take the time to process. even if it's by ourselves or even if it's during the middle of the party, excusing yourself to the bathroom for 5 minutes is no problem at all. It's perfectly fine. And just allowing yourself to pray or feel or think and experience and speak that out. And that's really what leads us into the beauty of the next season. I think that's when we may be prepared to actually step into whatever is next. If we haven't completed one cycle or even allowed ourselves to kind of grieve all that season or cycle meant, then how can we successfully step into and fully embrace the next? So it's the invitation to you today, my friend. I am linked arms with you and stepping into it myself in this new season of change for me as well and my family. And I honor you in your seasons, and I cannot wait to connect with you on the next episode. Thanks so much for listening to The Stephanie Stevens Show. Please remember to subscribe so we can stay connected and you never miss an episode of the podcast. Oh, and if you haven't left a rating yet, please be sure to do so. It helps incredible people like you find the podcast. We'll see you on the next episode.